Crypto Cats, my name is Tom, I am the crypto investor, and it's time for our weekly market roundup. As ever, we start with a heat map, top 100 tokens in crypto. You can see that we are red. The broader market is down 10% or so this week. ETH down 9%, Bitcoin slightly less, 7.6%. General, 10% is your average. A few tokens bucking the trend. Cosmos is up 26%. That's what Luna is actually built on. Luna is down 10% or so after hitting an all-time high of $104 a token. It is now back down to 90 or so. And otherwise, there's the rays of hope for me. What really kept my portfolio stable has been the likes of Convex and Circle, FXS, a few of these DeFi protocols, the kind of newer DeFi protocols, or the more adaptive DeFi protocols, looking pretty nice and continuing to gain the lion's share of the TVL on Ethereum, and we'll look at that in a minute. By the way, if you do in any way value the content, appreciate me putting the time in on New Year's Day, then please hit the like button. Please do comment and subscribe. Looking at the bubbles, and you can see that SafeMoon, don't know what you're up to. Not really a token I believe in or trust, but that's up 70%, probably back into the top 100. There's Convex looking really nice, and we'll check that out more in a minute. Not sure much about Rose. I think it's an L1. Sushi looking like it's, turning good. There's, of course, constant rumors that the DeFi 2.0 god Daniel is set to potentially join and help out the mess that Sushi has become. And, they may change their tokenomics to favor holders. There's Curve up 9% for the week, as we were just mentioning. All right, let's jump into looking at the different ecosystems, and you can see that Terra Luna has once more gained its second place by TVL over the Binance Smart Chain. So there is, and it's taken a $2 billion lead there over Binance, despite a 10% change in the week. It's because it had put on so much more earlier. So Terra is the second biggest ecosystem by the total amount of money locked in it, which you have to pay attention to, and it's generally been growing fairly well. But here's Cosmos, and there's very strong correlations you see between the TVL changes and obviously the token prices. Phantom has looked very good this week. Cosmos has looked very good this week. I will jump ahead quickly and just talk a little bit about these DeFi protocols. The ones that have done very well this week are number 1 and number 2 that continue to add more capital underneath their belts. So you have, I said Circle earlier, didn't I? Curve and Convex, absolutely smashing it. Convex looking really, really strong, as is FXS. I think you can see it here. Frax, they added 13% TVL this week as well. So yeah, just dominating the top 2 places. If it this is just Ethereum I'm looking at right now. If we look at the broader market, but yeah, they are the top 2 in Ethereum and the top 2 in the broader market. So you have to step up and pay attention to these 2 guys. And this works kind of perfectly alongside this post by Adam Cochran that you have to read. Okay, it's 26 minutes, but this is where you can devise your shopping list for 2022. I'll link this in the description below. This is a 206 tweets that's been put together for you on the Read app. He puts together what he feels are the god tier cryptocurrencies, as well as his strong outperforms, yada, 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 all the way down. And his thesis is really looking at value versus growth. So we'll just look at this nice and bigger. When you look at the stock market, it tends to go in these cycles of favoring value stocks and growth stocks, and that kind of tends to depend on what the interest rates are. If we have low interest rates, the investors focus on growth stocks, which are companies that have future earnings. If we have high interest rates, they look at value stocks, which have earnings today. And the same potentially is going to happen within the crypto markets, he feels, that we will start to, if we consider that much more institutional money is coming in, and we'll look at that in a minute, that the thesis really is, what protocols are making money now? Are they cash generating? And so, when we look at token terminal, and I've put this into logarithmic to make it a little bit clear because ETH just dominates otherwise. But when we look at logarithmically, you can see which protocols are making money. And traditional investors, we look at price to earnings ratios. We think about what is making money. So these are kind of, in essence, your value stocks within the crypto space. Of course, the whole thing is mega growth, but we can start to consider within that mega growth section, some of them are more value ones, that are protocols that are making money today. And I think that's the safer play for 2022, is to focus on, it's going to be much more, I don't think we're going to see necessarily this big, broad rising tide that lifts all boats, including turds. I think it's going to be more discerning, and we're going to have to really, focus on what's making money. And I think I will jump ahead and just look at, if we look, I think, it's Will Clementi. Can you believe Will Clementi is only 19 years old with his 500,000 followers and desperately intelligent man? Incredible, 19. So yeah, he was just, looking, for example, if we, retail interest in Bitcoin just kind of died away in spring and hasn't really come back. This is, total number of transaction fees. And so if the price has done this and transactions have gone down, that means the total amount per transaction is much, much bigger. The big boys have been playing, and I think I shared it on my last video as well, same on Coinbase. We can see that it's basically more and more institutional money that's flowing into this space. It's also demonstrated very well here. You can see that this is assets under management. And so, the big money is coming, and the big money is less speculative and less focused on meme tokens. They're focused on projects that are offering value. And so check out this post. It's an amazing post, and he goes through his thesis of why these picks are. So his top picks, for example, are ETH, Yearn Finance, which we'll talk about in a second, Convex, which we were just talking about, which is now number 2 by TVL DeFi, and Keeper, which is like an FX play. And so, yeah, I think actually this post has pushed a lot of these tokens up because it has been widely circulated on Twitter. But yeah, great read. As I said, it's very long, so check it out in your own time. We could do a whole video around that in its entirety. So where was I? Okay, I've jumped around a bit. This is going to be a little shambolic. It always is a little shambolic. We do record these in one take. So hang in there, Crypto Cats. All right, let's jump to this. So Alex Ohanian, if that's how you pronounce his name, he's the founder of Reddit, if you're not familiar. He's left Reddit now, and he's got a war chest of $200 million to create a decentralized social media platform with Polygon. And, This is Web3 building in the making. You think about Web2, you think about Facebook for social media, and the idea, of course, that Facebook is able to dictate what you see on your feed. If I post a link to a podcast I was on, for example, they won't proliferate it because it takes you outside of Facebook. But if I post a photo that keeps you on Facebook, they will show it to 10x the amount of people. It's not a fair system. And it's obviously geared towards maximum advertising and revenue for Facebook. A decentralized social media platform would, potentially have options where you can be paid for using it and see adverts, or I could choose to pay a small amount, fractional crypto payments in order to not be served up adverts and to have a fairer algorithm serving me up data. And so, depending on your means, you might, different parts of the world may choose to receive $1 a day or $1 an hour for browsing on their social media platform, and other people might choose to pay $1 an hour. And a small cut is taken by the company. And this is potentially this is what Web3 may look like. Much more money coming back into the pockets of the users, and a fairer, less centralized, dictated version of the experience. I think it's very cool, and this is only really just the beginning. Let's hope that their 200 million is enough to succeed. It's not a lot of money in this grand scheme of things. Think how much Google must have thrown at Google's circles to only fail. To gain a network effect is hard, but if you can financially incentivize your users, different. All right. So I was mentioning, we mentioned this last week, that Yearn Finance Wi-Fi token jumped 85% on the back of changing their tokenomics. They basically said, right, we're going to be burning it because their token has been, let's just quickly have a look at it. Their token has been pretty crap. So they had to change something up. YFI, and it worked, like this is their token over the last, these are weekly candles. You can see it's just flat, and it was going down the toilet, but it's jumped on the back of that. 85% was at one point. It is 70% up from those lows. And so this is what you're going to see more and more. Many of the older DeFi protocols need to spice things up to encourage people to use them. And so they will be, burning their tokens and incentivizing holders. So this is a post from Alan Stacked, and he surmises that he feels that these are the next most probable DeFi tokens to do the same thing. So yeah, Maple, GMX. I actually have a contact at Liquidity, LQTY, and he doesn't think, well, he's like, interesting, food for thought. So I don't think that they're actually going to be doing that anytime soon. Sushi, I think, is well positioned to do so and has been pumping. NXM, I'm not really familiar with. But again, have a read of the post, link below. Maybe these are worth planting little seeds in. When we look at the DPI index, you can see DeFi's got very, very cheap. I think Maple's a pretty good shout. And so these are, potentially quite good speculative little seeds to be planting. Should they change the tokenomics to favor the token holders. All right, this is a really nice mental mind map. Again, I'll link it below because it's a video in itself, but this guy, Tanjay Jain, doesn't have many followers. He's built this beautiful kind of layout of what Web3 is. Just this bit is metaverse, and then the idea of what NFTs can be in all these different use cases of NFTs. I thought this was just very nice, very well laid out. It helps just kind of mind map this whole space and what it looks like. He also mentions a few tokens within here. So yeah, I just think I'll link it below. Have a look at it in your own time. We've already looked at that. Ray Dalio, who, one of the most well-respected billionaire hedge fund owners, he says cash is the worst investment of all. Cash is trash. We know this, and that crypto deserves a place in one's portfolio. It's just nice to hear it from the likes of Ray Dalio. He owns some Bitcoin and some ETH. This is just me. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I'm Desert Island Tom. Just looking at Luna, I will do another video about this in particular. But the supply of Luna, if you aren't familiar with how Luna works, you have the stablecoin Terra UST, and every time Terra is minted, Luna is burnt. And so Luna has, in the last 40 days, had 9.6% of its supply burnt, which is why we've seen the price of Luna rocket, because the supply is getting burnt as new Terra is created. And we just have to look at the supply of Terra. This is the total amount of Terra in circulation. It was at 2 billion in August. It's now at 10 billion. In the last 4 or 5 months, the supply of Terra is up 400%. If it can continue this ridiculous trajectory, just imagine what is going to happen to the price of Luna. And UST just got added to Binance, the world's biggest exchange, 4 or 5 days ago. And we can track this. We can see that every day the supply of UST continues to pump up, and so that means the amount of Luna continues to be burnt. It's a pretty good investment if you ask me. All right, and this is Eminem. He's quite a famous, big deal, 22.5 million followers. He's just changed his profile picture to a Bored Ape, probably nothing. But this is, again, just more and more social signaling with NFTs, more and more adoption as a consequence of this. It's quite a big profile person to do this. Bored Apes continue to shoot up in value. I've got my mutant ape, and do I hold on to this? I mean, if I could maybe fractionalize it and sell some of it, perhaps I will. It's starting to get a bit spicy for my liking as a single asset. Finally, I was on a podcast last week, the second time appearing on the BitLift podcast, talking about my 2022 thesis and predictions if you are interested in listening to that. I will also link it below. Right, let's get into the charts, shall we? So, as I said, the total crypto space was down 10% or so for the week. We haven't really lost our upward structure. I don't think... Oh yeah, and maybe I should just talk about this briefly. What I talk about in the podcast is the fact that Raoul Pal, many people believe that, well, of course, we would have been going through a period of selling for tax season. Many people have been lowering their positions in crypto for the end of the tax year. And January typically is a time when the largest amount of hedge fund capital is allocated. And should we see this crypto under asset management allocation continue, then we would expect January to be one of the biggest times for that allocation to be applied. So based on that, that gives me the hopium for January being a good month, and perhaps the worst of the selling is now behind us. One will hope, and we will see how it plays out, but let's hope January is good to us. The biggest headwinds for us really are this slowly increasing interest rate environment that is going to have to happen within the TradFi world to curtail inflation. They have to put interest rates up, and we've had beautiful, easy environment for cryptocurrencies of high amounts of printing, low interest. It's been a right breeding ground for it, but it necessarily, it gets harder for us now, really. And that's why I think, as I said, we have to be more picky and look at protocols that are adding value, that are productive. All right, so we can see that, I don't think this doesn't look like it's breaking down from where I'm sitting. We continue to edge our way up. We can look at monthly charts now. We've just had a month close. It's been an ugly month close, but hey, we had some ugly month closes here. I'm expecting January to be kind to us. I am somewhat of a permeable, as you know. And in that podcast, I do lay out why I believe we are more likely to be in a super cycle than anything else. Looking at Bitcoin, you can see that it looked, if we drill down onto the daily chart, it looked like we had broken this horrifically long 44-day downward trend. I thought the channel had broken, and maybe it has. Maybe we've come back in for the retest. We're confirming support at 46, and we bounce back up. But really, we're in no man's land. I think until we can see Bitcoin recapture the 53,000, this is still shaky. If you have capital on the sidelines, you can dollar cost average in, or you can wait for a break of 53,000 for a safer entry, in my opinion. But this is crab market. This is a sideways crab market, really, for a long period of time now. And it's kind of depressing if you consider that Bitcoin is the same price it was back in February. We haven't really done anything with the year after the amazing run-up that we had in late 2020. We've really just gone sideways since February. So, yeah, hopefully we confirm support here and we begin to edge our way up. Looking at ETH, much the same, really has actually Bitcoin has slightly outperformed ETH in the last few weeks or so. Again, ETH broke its channel. Let's just get this on a better... This isn't very clear. I should have prepared this chart for you earlier, CryptoCats, but you can see that we were in this downward channel, and it looked like we were breaking out and we're moving back up. But really, if we look at this on the weekly chart, we're just bleeding, really. We continue to bleed. And if we close down here, this is another, I think, we need to see ETH close above 3920 to really kind of be stopping that rot. But it'll be another lower close, which will be the consecutive one for 7 weeks now. So, no sign really that we have actually stopped this rot. It does feel like it's rounding. There's so little leverage left in the system that we're not really getting these hard, fast moves down. At least it's a slow bleed. If that is any kind of consolation. But again, just like with Bitcoin, Ethereum, I'm not really interested on adding to it until we break 4,200. And that's why I have this alert set here. 4,200, or I've got it at 4,160, but 4,200 to be safe, and we are heading right back up. Long term, of course, ETH is in an amazing position, huge amounts of demand, and also we, of course, have the merge coming in 4 months' time, so the tokenomics are so favorable. But shorter term, dollar cost average in, or wait until we take out 4,200. DeFi is looking a little bit interesting. For the first time, the ugliest chart in crypto may be about to turn its head. So as said, of course, Yearn Finance changing their tokenomics, and so many people feel that that's going to happen with the other DeFi protocols. Is it oversold? Has it got too cheap? I think it is. I think it's worth building up a position in, as I said, planting these seeds in different DeFi protocols or buying the DPI index. For me, this is a value play now. Potentially we're seeing it break out of this downward trend line, and now we can start to see it move up. But yeah, DeFi just starting to look a bit more interesting in my opinion. Jumping ahead, I didn't look at the ETH Bitcoin ratio. So we, of course, had that... where's my 50%? There we go. Yeah, we had the break of the 50%, and we've since come back. We're retesting Ethereum as 50% of the market cap of Bitcoin, and I'm expecting this to be strong support for Ethereum and Ethereum to bounce off here. So very, very favorable time, in my opinion, to be selling some Bitcoin to ETH as we retest this, and I suspect we bounce and resume up somewhat like this and have a pop at the 0.1. And looking at that Bitcoin dominance, 40% of the 40% of the total market continues to be very, very stubborn. You can see that the market cap of Bitcoin continues to hold at 40%. Something has to give soon, and in my opinion, it will break, and we will start to see that capital really moving into those productive assets. And I'd expect quite a quick move down to 36% or so. But it's taking its sweet time about it. We're waiting for that kind of triple tap. But I think at some point, I think in the next few weeks, we're going to start to really see the markets come alive. Ethereum's dominance, much the same. You know, it broke that 20%, came all the way up to 22% of the markets, come back, retesting 20%. Again, I'd expect it to find support here. I think, you know, ETH is, compared to Bitcoin, a really good value play right now. Again, I'd expect this to bounce, not quite that aggressively, and work its way up towards 24-25% dominance. Looking at other dominance, Solana dominance consolidating nicely, looking pretty decent really. You know, when you see the Solana token prices bleeding out versus the US dollar, it's really important to come back and check their dominance in the broader market. It just gives you a better perspective, in my opinion. Luna dominance continues to just, after, you know, not a great week for Luna dominance, but continues to just be in this incredible breakout. I'm really uber bullish on Luna, even though it's had such a ridiculous run up. For me, the tokenomics, the broad ecosystem, the amount of value locked on there, incredible projects, good leadership. Luna, for me, is still one of the best picks for 2022. Matic's dominance, again, pulling back a little bit after getting to 0.86%, but still looking strong. As is the Matic token price, it has pulled back with the kind of broader market. How much has it pulled back from that top? Kind of in line with the market, 11%, but still looking pretty strong. And that's it. That's it, Crypto Cats. I hope you found it useful. As I said, I put links to many of the things I discussed below. And I'm just a guy on the internet. This is not financial advice. As always, do your own research. Please hit like, subscribe, all the good stuff. And I will speak to you very soon. All the best. Have a great year.